All right, we are in mid-flowering. This is really the make or break weeks for the harvest. And I've got 5 plants here growing in 10-gallon living soil fabric pots. They're on day 35 of flowering. Let's start off by going over each plant individually. Let me pull up a chair here, put on my eye protection. Starting off with Bruce Banner number 3. That's this plant right here. I want to mention what the genetics are, what the parents are for each one, and then also what the flowering time is for each one. So for Bruce Banner number 3, this is an S1. Its parents are OG Kush crossed with Strawberry Diesel. And the flowering time on this is around 10 weeks. This one right here on the left of it, that's No Joke by Chad Westport. Parents on that are Westport's Grape Juice. He reversed that and crossed it with Kool-Aid Man. And I talked to Chad and he had mentioned flowering time for this is 60 to 70 days. In the middle there is Lemon Mandarin by Fast Buds. The parents are Lemonade crossed with Tangy, and the flowering time for this is 9 to 10 weeks. On the back left corner is Nerds Rope S1. I don't actually have the parents on this one. All I could really find was that it's Nerds Rope crossed with Nerds Rope. Flowering time I did find it was 8 to 9 weeks. And then on the back right corner is Hulk's Breakfast. That's by ICANN Seeds. The parents are French Toast crossed with Bruce Banner. Matt ICANN actually got a cut from Dark Horse himself. Flowering time on that is 10 to 12 weeks. Moving up, I want to talk about the lighting for a little bit. This is the Grandmaster LED Borg Evolution. It's a spectrum tuning light. Right now I have it, since we're in the middle of flowering, I actually have it after stretch phase. I have a little cheat sheet right here. Warm white at 100%, deep red 25%, and then far red 30%. Now I did adjust the spectrum in order for filming. It appears to be a cool white now just for filming. When I do adjust to that spectrum, one thing I've noticed is that it reminds me of the HPS days. It's like a yellow / orangish color, and it really brings me back to HPS. I think that's kind of one of the points, is to emulate that spectrum in some sense. So adding in the deep red, adding in the far red, that's going to be super beneficial here in mid-flowering. As far as the PPFD, how much PAR is actually being emitted onto the plants, tallest nug is right back there, and I have it at 900 PPFD. And now going to the lowest part is right here, 750 PPFD. So we're not even across the board here. I'm okay with that. Typically I'm between 600 and 900 PPFD in flower. I did have somebody comment on a recent video and they said, why don't you boost up those smaller plants onto something so that they're even with the taller plants? Great suggestion. I actually used to do that back in the day with Amazon boxes until I had a catastrophe to where the Amazon box collapsed and the plant fell over and there was soil everywhere and the plant was mangled. So I stopped putting them onto Amazon boxes. I don't think it would work very well having a 10-gallon pot on there, tons of weight, and then when you're watering even more weight on there, it just wouldn't be good. Something else that comes to mind would be like a milk crate, like a plastic milk crate. I don't have any of those. I think that probably would be perfect to boost it up on something like that. If anybody has any suggestions on like platforms, whether it be just its own platform or maybe like an adjustable type platform, that would be pretty cool. Let me know what you typically do if you do boost up your plants. Let me know down in the comments section below. For environment, I did adjust the conditions a little bit from the last update. I'm now down to 80 degrees Fahrenheit. So before I was up to 82 degrees Fahrenheit. I decided to drop the temperature a little bit, and I plan to drop it even more as we get towards late flowering. So when there's about 2 or 3 weeks left in flowering, I'll probably drop it down to about 78 degrees Fahrenheit. This technique is done often as a technique to kind of conserve terpenes. So we know the higher the temperature, the more terpenes volatilize. They basically come off the plant and into the air. That's the smell when you open up your grow tent, is those terpenes just volatilizing off the plants. So lowering the temperature towards the final weeks of flowering, that is helpful in order to conserve the terpenes. So right now I'm at 80 degrees Fahrenheit. As far as VPD, pretty dialed in 1.2 to 1.4 kPa. In order to dial in the environment, I've been using AC Infinity's products. Got to give a shout out to them. They are a sponsor of the channel. They hook up my viewers with a discount code. You can use code MrGrowIt15. That code works on both their website as well as Amazon. I'm in their 4x8 tent. I'm using their oscillating fans. You can see I have actually one on each corner. Also using their inline fan. I have a 6-inch inline in here. No carbon filter. I don't really need to hide the smell, but I do have ducting going out and actually venting out a window. In the past, my old place I lived at, I would actually vent up out into an attic, and then there was ventilation in the attic, so it would come out of that. Also using their humidifier, that helps increase the humidity in the grow space. Since I live in a very dry climate, I need to say that in every video. Really liking how well that works. It definitely helps increase the humidity in the grow space in order to achieve the target VPD. Let's go down to the soil and talk that for a little bit. So some of you might remember this is reused soil. This is my 7th run using this soil. It's in all of the containers. I did the initial mending with Build a Soil Craft Blend, 1 cup per plant. Another thing I did for this particular run is the initial mending also included some lava rock. I wanted to add in some more aeration, some rice hulls, which helps with aeration, adds a little bit of silica in there as well, and then biochar, which is a really good habitat for microbes. So I added those things plus the craft blend. And then as far as other amendments that I added in, I actually didn't add anything in until flowering. About a week into flowering, I did another amending. For the back 3 plants, I did Kiss Organics Bloom Booster. I ran out of that Bloom Booster. So the front 2 plants I ended up going with Kiss Organics Nutrient Pack. And I've used the Kiss Organic Nutrient Pack several times in past grows. I've been using it for actually several years now, it seems. That's been pretty good to run throughout the whole grow cycle. I've been able to get away with it, but it really felt like with the higher nitrogen level, I didn't really get as much of a fade towards the end of flowering. We'll see. We'll see the comparison this time around. We'll see if the 3 plants in the back that had the Bloom Booster, which is targeted towards flowering, versus the 2 plants in the front. We'll see if there's any differences in the fade. It'll be interesting to see that. You can see I do have a mulch layer here for moisture retention. I'm just doing hand watering this time around. I did have the blue mats in there, had the drip rings in there to begin, but I ended up going on vacation and just they weren't really calibrated right. So I took them out, just haven't put them back in, just been hand watering. Kind of been enjoying hand watering a little bit because I have the moisture meters in there, the EcoWit moisture meters. It's been staying between 30 and 40% for the most part. I can look at the app and it shows me what percentage it's at. And when it dips down right below 30%, that's when I'll add in watering. I will add in about a gallon of water. I'll do top watering, and then it usually goes up to 40% after the watering. 44% I think is the high it's been after the watering, and then it slowly drops down over the period of several days. And then yeah, once I see the moisture meter, once it shows me on the app that it's down to 29%, 28%, I'll add in more water. Being able to have some sort of visualization of what the moisture content is has been so beneficial this run. Some of you guys know that EcoWit, this moisture meter, is kind of new to me. I just started using it this year, if I remember correctly. This year, or maybe it was towards the end of last year. So it's pretty new. It's been so helpful. Less of a guessing game, right? Like the old school method is to lift up the side of the grow pot or stick your finger in there, and if it's bone dry all the way knuckle deep, then it's time for a watering. Well, it's much easier to look at an app, see the moisture percentage, and then kind of water from there. So I've been able to get away with it. I did have somebody comment in the comment section. They had mentioned, hey, I see some burnt tips on the leaves. He had mentioned that in his observation that that's due to inconsistent watering. So you can take that as you will. I guess you could say I did have some inconsistent watering. If I'm going from 40% down to 30%, then that triggers nutrient burn. But nutrient burn isn't detrimental to the plant. You know, it's not a catastrophe. It can be, right? If you over fertilize, you get nutrient burn, you get nitrogen toxicity, but I'm not seeing nitrogen toxicity here. Everything looks good, nice, lush green. I am seeing a little bit of a problem here. If you're able to zoom in and catch the leaf here, on 2 different plants, I'm seeing this type of deficiency. Now, I'm not sure if this is a deficiency, whether it be a calcium or magnesium, or if it's a potential kind of lockout, like there's too much calcium in it, it's inhibiting magnesium uptake, or vice versa. It could be either or. I'm not too concerned about it because it's not like it's widespread throughout the plant. There's only a few leaves here or there. We're mid-flowering right now. I think as long as I just maintain pretty decent watering, those amendments are going to continue to break down as they should. And then we'll get to harvest here in 25 to 35 days, roughly, depending on what cultivar we're looking at here. The amount of fertilizer I top dressed, I almost forgot to mention that, is 1 cup per plant. And I also do stash blend every other week. I add that into water, mix half teaspoon per gallon of water. So that goes in there. As far as plant training, I didn't do a whole lot this run. I did topping early. Went in there, did some lollipopping, some defoliation before flipping the flower. I did see some growth since then. I tend to safe side it a little bit and not rip off as many leaves as some other people do. Taking a look at this, I probably will get in here and maybe pluck off a few more leaves here on this plant in particular. You can see it's kind of overlapping and it doesn't really look like airflow is inhibited through there, but I would like to take off a few more leaves, get some light deeper down into the canopy. But yeah, for the most part, I've been pretty hands-off when it comes to training. I'm okay with that. Whatever I get out of this, I get out of it. I actually just harvested another tent and got close to a pound off of that. So I've got plenty. This isn't a yield run. I'm not chasing after a certain yield, just really whatever I get out of it. Typically what I aim for is about 2 to 3 ounces per plant. That's just my rough goal. I think I'm on track to get that on this run. But overall, this run has been pretty easy. And I think organic growing in general can be pretty easy. Now, when I first started growing organically, I was kind of overwhelmed with the amount of information that's out there. I thought, gosh, there's dozens of different amendments. What do I add when? I was kind of delayed getting into organics because of that. Now, when I found out about fertilizer blends, where there's a whole bunch of different amendments blended into one that's for the veg stage or for the flower stage, it made things a lot easier. And just being able to top dress a few times throughout the grow, of course, with that initial amending, and then water in, it makes things so much easier. And I do want to give a shout out to my book. If anybody is getting into organics, pick this up, Organic Cannabis Cultivation. This is my beginner to intermediate grow guide. It's on my website, mrgrow.com, as well as it's on Amazon worldwide. So even if you're in a different country, you can order it off Amazon and get it delivered to your door. That's pretty much it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace out.